So I just came back from the petrol station. I just put in about $20 worth of petrol in the car. Obviously, the car. Um, and just went about my business, just how I always do in the petrol station, just like everybody does. Um, the person inside the petrol station, obviously, he was paying for his petrol, and he was just very rude to the cashier, to the person at the counter, for no reason. And if there was a reason, I'm not sure that it was justified how he was um, talking to the person. It just seemed very like aggressive for something that probably was just like a minor inconvenience. But I think it just shows that everyone's under a lot of stress, and I see that particularly even just driving to the petrol station. Like everyone seems to just be in such a rush, and genuinely, I feel like most of the time it's to get like absolutely nowhere, or whatever have you. But they just seem very, very persistent that they need to be there before anybody else, and they're willing to put yours and I safety at risk for their dangerous driving. Now, obviously, like I said, I'm sure they also have their own stresses as well, but I don't remember it being this bad. I don't think it was ever really, really this bad many years back, and it just seems like people have changed, and I don't know what's happened. And I find myself as I'm getting older and older that I'm becoming more and more introverted, that I don't go out as much as I used to. And in the times that I do go out, people aren't friendly. And that's weird because I always, hi, how you going? Thank you, just being a human. But they seem very hostile. Doesn't take much to set them off. And I understand that maybe a lot of these people are just suffering from a lot of stress. A lot of stress in their life. I'm not denying that. But man, it seems like it seems to be bubbling out just into the open, and everyone's just very stressful. I'm not immune to that. I get stressed, I get very angry, but I'm also very observant, especially like in situations like that. And I've got to remind myself, like, one day that could be me. And I think that just brings it into perspective for me, especially. I don't know how you feel, but that a lot of people have changed. And it's like it seemed to happen during 2020. And we all know what happened during 2020. It was a very weird year. I don't think, I personally don't think that we have actually truly recovered from 2020 at all. Everybody was locked up, everybody was just confined to inside their homes, and I feel like a lot of people snapped in 2020. It wasn't good for anybody. But the behavior of people since 2020, and I'm not going to sit here and pretend that I'm on a high horse and mightier than thou or anything like holier than thou, but it's just as I've got older, I've become a lot more reserved, a lot more introverted, and a lot more observant, and just more careful about picking which battles are worth fighting. And like I said, a lot of people are very on edge, and I just think a lot of people are struggling, and a lot of people are in just survival mode. Just like the world these days seems to just be very very strange. And, you know, just the busyness of life in general. Everyone's, um, got to go here, got to go here. Some people are juggling 2 or 3 different jobs. Some people have kids. Some people have, a lot of responsibilities. I'm not denying that at all. I'm never going to sit here and say that that does not ever affect that. But it's just, there's only so much that I believe a human can tolerate before the pressure valve just breaks. And that's why I think a lot of these, things that I see, especially mainly on the roads, like my most hostile interactions with other people are usually on the road. People are and I think it's just a high anxious state, especially on the road. And people are in charge of these vehicles that are, you know, very fast, very heavy, and people are just unpredictable. And of course, people have seen the crazy dash cam videos and stuff like that, and it's just insane. And then to top that off, it's the price of living as well at the same time. People are paying exorbitant amount for groceries. I do a whole, I did um, a bunch of shorts about how to find cheap stuff from Woolies. And like, how long is it like until that stuff becomes expensive? And this is just like the bare basic stuff. This is your noodles, this is your pasta, this is water bottles, this is all this other stuff. So people are getting squeezed even when they go to the grocery store. And I understand companies need to make money. I'm not saying that they don't. And, it just is how it is. They provide you products and stuff. I understand that completely. But man, like when is enough when it comes to the price going up and up and up? It's just insane. And like maybe we should look at some videos of people's experiences and reacting to some of the exorbitant prices that they've seen in the shops. Top it off, fuel prices. So I don't know where you are in the world, but only a couple months back, we had a big fuel issue, which was obviously caused by what's happening overseas in the Middle East. Everybody knows what's going on there. And fuel prices were extremely expensive, even back then. Like, even before all that, like... And they've come down since, but for how long? That's the point. For how long? How much longer is that going to stay like that for? So it's just forever increasing, and people have to forever make sacrifices here and there and there. Everything seems to increase. Then you got subscription services on top of everything else as well. You got your Netflix. People got DoorDash. People got Uber. People, have all these other subscription services that are paying for, and every business seems to be trying to push a subscription service, which that's fine, but you need to look at the value of said subscription. For instance, a lot of these streaming platforms that will have a subscription are constantly cutting back their library of movies. And so you got to ask yourself, like, what are you paying for? And a lot of these movies that they're cutting back and replacing aren't like good quality movies. So they're just kind of like filler, like B grade, C grade movies. So Uber Eats, DoorDash, massively overpriced. Those things are overpriced. There's a markup on a lot of the stuff that you buy. A lot of the food that you buy is marked up from Uber Eats already and DoorDash. And they have every right to do that. That's what I'm saying. Like, they have every right to mark up their prices as much as they want. If they want to sell a burrito for $80, sell your burrito for $80. No one's going to buy it, and that's their right. You have the right to price your food at whatever it is that you want, but people also have the right not to buy it. So you got to find that happy balance. You can't just keep squeezing the general population. So eventually, like for instance, full transparency, I think Uber Eats, when it's like fairly like good value, it's great. Some people just cannot be bothered going to pick up food after a long day at work. I totally get that. And that's why Uber Eats exists. You're paying for that convenience. Absolutely. But most of the time it's severely overpriced, under quality, and usually delivered cold, which, you know, there's also arguments for how they can kind of get around that and stuff, and there are some people whose life situations generally probably can't go out to get food. And I would assume that Uber Eats and DoorDash is very helpful to those people, 100%. But I've stopped Uber Eats, I've stopped DoorDash, I've cancelled all those subscriptions, cancelled my Netflix, I don't have any subscription services at all. At all. I don't even have Prime for Amazon. So I'd much rather just wait a couple extra days and just stuff like that, you know. And obviously there's Prime Day, which, you know, there's always a way that they get you to come back in. But I'm just trying to be a little bit more responsible with my money and really only buying stuff that really does, you know, bring value. Like for instance, this camera that you're now seeing me through is a completely different camera to my previous videos. So this is like an AI tracking camera, and it's really high quality camera. And I look at that as an investment in the channel. Same with the microphone. I just recently bought a microphone arm. I paid for a good quality one, and I'm expecting a good quality microphone arm. So, but these are all investments in the channel. This isn't just like something that, you know, like I said, with Netflix, you pay for it, you have access to these movies, but they can also just take it away whenever they want. And so, you know, that's why I said, like, I know this might sound like it's getting off track a bit, but it's just, everyone just seems to be in this massive, like, squeeze where everything that they used to know and used to love is getting cut. Favorite movies from the streaming platforms, gone. You know, the grocery bill being a lot less, a lot more cheaper before, gone. Fuel prices, you know, maybe they have to stop taking holidays now just so they can cover fuel prices cover their fuel for the year, gone. So a lot of people are struggling, absolutely. I see it every time I step out that front door, I see it. It's on their face, it's how they drive, it's how they talk, it's how they look. And it's like the happiness is gone from these people. I'm not going to sit here and say I'm over the moon happy. Absolutely not. I'm struggling too. A lot of people are struggling. It is very hard not to succumb to struggling in this economy. Absolutely. And then every day you turn on you turn on your phone, you open up YouTube, you open up the TV, there's just headline after headline of these bad things that happen every single day. And there's not much else to it, really. It's just, you wake up, it's bad news. You go out, it's people being very angry, very stressed. You come home after a long day of work that you probably don't really enjoy, and when it comes to paying the bills, you've worked a whole week and all your bills are gone to overpriced services that are constantly cutting their libraries and their quality and the customer service. Eventually something has to give, and people are under a lot of pressure. I don't doubt that. But I just hope that I really do hope things get better. Just in my mind, 10 years ago, things used to be so great. At least for me. Life used to be very simple. Wasn't stressful. Just used to be easy. I often dream about memories from previous years and stuff, just when times were great. And I'm sure a lot of people do. But I often have said to myself, and I often use it as a quote, that the old world is gone. The old world. And if you're around my age, you know exactly what I'm talking about. 2000s. Yeah, no. It's just very, very difficult times. So, but we got to stick in there. We really do. We just got to keep going. I know that's so easy to say. You got to keep going. Things will get better. But that's all we can do. And just hope that things get better. And I'm not a religious person, but put your faith in God that things get better, and hopefully we can go back to some normality, because things do not feel normal at the moment at all. Things do not feel normal at all. I feel like everyone has a sense of impending doom. That's people are expecting something to happen. People are expecting a natural disaster, something terrible happening, and no one can see where it's coming from. You hear all these earthquakes that are happening every day, tsunami alerts, famine, food shortages. Just doesn't stop. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like, and with that being said, I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye guys.